In those days, long before our lives became crowded with messages, schedules, and the constant hum of obligation, the world moved with a gentler rhythm. People still worried, still hoped, still hurried in their own small ways. Yet, even their rushing carried a softer echo than the pace we know today. Back when the world moved differently, a traveler's arrival could stir an entire town, and so it was. When the Thingaza Sayadaw reached a small community in Lower Burma, word passed quickly from house to house, and soon 500 devotees gathered, their faces carrying a mixture of respect, curiosity, and the quiet wish for guidance. They escorted him to a simple monastery, where the air held the faint scent of aged wood, the warmth of the day's fading heat. As soon as he was settled, they asked him to give a sermon. Their eagerness was sincere, born from long days and hearts that wanted a moment of clarity. But the Sayadaw looked at them kindly. It was not a Sabbath day, he reminded them, and many among them had merely come to greet him before returning to their work. There would be many chances to hear him teach during the days ahead. If he were to preach now, he said gently, some might end up like Mistress Cold, the pickled fish seller, once listened to a sermon, while her thoughts drifted anxiously toward the duties she had left undone. And with that quiet hint of a lesson, the story of Mistress Cold began to unfold. Mistress Cold made her living by walking the village paths each day, selling pickled fish from a tray she carried beneath her shawl. It was steady work, and the daylight hours mattered deeply. Every moment determined how much she would earn before nightfall. One afternoon, as she began her rounds, she passed a house where an initiation ceremony was underway. Curious, she paused at the doorway. Inside, the abbot presiding over the event was beginning his sermon, his voice calm and measured. A quiet thought rose in her. In my busyness, I have been neglecting my religion. The sun was still high, her tray was still full, and the words of wisdom called to her in a way she could not ignore. So she stepped inside and sat among the guests. At first her mind was clear, her heart open. The sermon was meaningful, comforting in its familiar cadence, but as time stretched on, she felt a small knot of worry forming. The sun inched lower. The shadows grew longer. Her pickled fish remained unsold beneath her shawl. She shifted slightly, glancing between the abbot, the doorway, and the fading light. Her good intention stood beside her, duty and, slowly, very slowly, the two began to pull her in opposite directions. As the abbot continued his sermon, Mistress Cold felt time pressing more firmly against her. What had begun as a sincere wish to listen slowly turned into a quiet tension inside her chest. She shifted her gaze upward toward the abbot, then outward toward the doorway, where the sunlight that once shone brightly was now sinking toward the edge of the day. A tray of pickled fish, hidden beneath her shawl, grew heavier in her mind. I have not sold even a vis, she worried. If this goes on much longer, I would have no daylight left at all. But no one else stirred. The guests remained fully absorbed in the sermon, sitting with steady posture and calm attention. Their peaceful stillness only made her own restlessness sharper, as though she alone carried a clock inside her chest, ticking louder by the minute. Mistress Cold swallowed, feeling the heat of her worry rise. She looked again at the sun, now low enough to paint the doorway in warmer tones. With each passing moment, her anxiety grew, not from disrespect, but from the fear that she would lose the entire day's earnings. She waited and waited, but still the sermon continued, unbroken, carried by the abbot's voice, with the slow patience of someone unconcerned with the slipping light. And so she sat torn, quietly, between devotion and livelihood, unable to silence either one. At last the abbot's sermon came to an end. A soft wave of relief moved through the room, as though everyone exhaled at once. The host rose, lifted a gong, and struck it, letting the bright tone ripple gently across the hall. Then, in a ceremonial voice, he declared, "In this, our deed of merit, may all beings take a share." The words echoed, filling the room with their finality. But Mistress Cold, whose heart had been wound tight by worry, felt something snap loose within her. The mingled relief and anxiety blurred together, and in that brief, unguarded moment, she forgot entirely where she stood. She rose to her feet. Her shawl shifted. Her instincts, shaped by long days of calling out to customers, rushed ahead of her mind, and before she could stop herself, she cried out, "Pickled fish, pickled fish, only a quarter piece for a vish who will buy my pickled fish." The hall fell silent. Guests stared, startled. The air stilled, as though the building itself held its breath. And Mistress Cold, realizing her mistake, felt the flush of embarrassment rise, hot and fast beneath her skin. She had spoken from habit, from worry, from the urgent pull of her daily life, forgetting for a moment the sacredness of the space around her. For a long breath, no one moved. Mistress Cold stood frozen, her call still hanging in the air like a bird that had flown into the wrong room. The hall, moments ago, filled with the gentle closure of the ceremony, now felt suspended in a quiet pause. Her cheeks warmed with embarrassment. The tray beneath her shawl felt unbearably heavy, not with fish, but with the weight of her own confusion. She lowered her eyes, wishing she could gather her words back into silence. Yet the room did not turn harsh. No laughter, no scolding, only a soft human understanding that settled among the guests. They saw not foolishness, but the simple truth of a person torn between devotion and livelihood. Even the abbot remained calm, unmoved by judgment. His stillness carried a kind of compassion, the kind that recognizes how easily worry can pull someone off balance. Mistress Cold breathed slowly, trying to steady herself. The sun outside had nearly slipped away, leaving the hall touched with the gentle colors of evening. The moment, though painful for her, also revealed something tender, that a heart trying to do right can sometimes stumble without meaning to. The room gradually softened again, as though inviting her mistake to rest without shame. And so, the Thingazar, Sayadar, recalling this story, looked gently at the 500 devotees gathered before him. His voice remained soft, unhurried. He explained that if he were to preach now, many might find themselves in the same conflict as Mistress Cold, wanting to listen, but pulled strongly by the duties waiting for them outside. He spoke not to discourage them, but to spare them that inner struggle. A teaching, he said, is best received when the mind is settled and the heart unburdened. There would be time in the days ahead to listen deeply, without worry stealing their attention. The devotees understood. The hall felt quieter, grounded, as though the story itself had done the teaching. It needed no further explanation. The gentle reminder had already found its place within each listener. And so, the moment ended. Not with a sermon, but with clarity. A lesson wrapped in compassion. A reminder to meet wisdom with a free and steady mind. If this story touched you even lightly, let its quietness stay with you. May it remind you to pause when life pulls too tightly, and to return to your tasks with a calmer heart. If you wish for more stories told in this gentle, steady voice, you are welcome to stay close to this place. You may subscribe or leave a like, or share your reflections in the comments, not out of obligation, but as a way of returning whenever the world grows loud and you seek a moment of peace. Whenever you need another quiet story, come back. I will be here.